I'm recording. I don't have notes for this one.
Me neither. I just finished watching it 10 minutes ago, so...
Yeah. Great. It's a tight film.
Yeah, well...
Some might say not tight enough.
It's a short film, but the storytelling isn't tight, is what I'll say. Welcome to Direct-to-Video VHS?
VHS.
A podcast where we pair movies like fine wine. In our pairing of, I guess, Disney adaptations of British shit.
Yeah. That was the
idea. Yeah, okay.
My knowledge base was, well, these are both like British shit.
This one feels very weird because this is a very American adaptation.
It's so American to the point where it's like it's like country music.
Like rockabilly style.
Yeah. It's like that's the vibe of the songs.
Yeah.
All right.
Where there's like one guy with a British accent and it's Robin Hood.
Maid Marian has a British accent,
yeah,
right?
Maid Marian does, and Prince John does. Everybody else is very American sounding, and that's funny to me. We watched Robin Hood with the hot fox in it.
Oh yeah, we did. We sure did. Let me give you some history about this movie.
Yeah, let's do it.
My history specifically. We'll start there.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this movie 1,000,000 times, but only at the dentist. Because every time we went to the dentist, I would ask the lady at the front if they could put on Robin Hood. And so there are a lot of parts of this movie that I vividly remember. There are a lot of parts of this movie that I forgot were in it because I probably never saw them.
Right, you've watched the first half of this movie very many times. A dentist appointment does not take 90 minutes.
No. Well, sometimes you would have to wait a while, right?
Sure.
Because like someone's like drilling went too long, stuff like that.
Yeah. The difference between Child You and Child Me, by the way, is I would have never asked somebody to put something on TV at a doctor's office. It would just not have occurred to me. I specifically remember being at the dentist's office and them asking me if I wanted something specific on TV, and I was like, no, whatever's on, that's fine. It was like The Nanny, and I don't care about The Nanny. I was just I'm just trying to phase out here.
I think as a child, I was a lot more precocious and willing to break social norms than I am as an adult. Like, as an adult, I would never do this.
As a child, I distinctly remember being with my grandfather at the store, and I would ask him, hey, what's that candy for? Because I didn't want to ask for candy.
It's just there for fun, right?
Is it for, like, is there any, like, reason it's here?
I always thought it was fake.
Really?
I thought it was fake. I thought it was, like, plastic fruit.
Interesting.
Because we went to a doctor's office once that had fake fruit. And I was like, well, can I have one of those? And they were like, no, it's fake. And so my brain was like, everything on that counter, fake. Not real. There's no way.
Amazing. Anyway.
Robin Hood came out, 1973. This was, I believe, the second movie that they did after Walt Disney's death. And you can kind of feel it. It's got a hodgepodgeness to it.
It's like a series of vignettes that, despite itself, make a film.
Yeah, and it almost feels a little bit, it feels lost. It feels like it doesn't know how to cohere itself, other than aesthetically, right? Like, the movie aesthetically looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something really tragic about the fact that, like, for the next, 10 movies, right? From The Aristocrats probably until Oliver and Company, Disney Animation was obsessed with, like, what would Walt do? How do we make sure that this adheres to Walt's vision? When, if you know anything about Walt Disney, during the last like 20 years of his life, he did not give a shit about the animation department. He was all in on the theme park and audio animatronics. This movie's like, at the time it came out, was very successful. Its production was pretty like smooth, except for the fact that they did start falling a little bit behind schedule. And so to like combat that, the director Wolfgang Reitherman, who's one of like the original 9 Disney animators, gave animators permission to go into the archives and reuse older animations.
You could straight up see a couple of times they just like, there is the most egregious reused animation in this. It looks like a GIF.
Yeah. It's really bad in some places. If you know what to look for, right? Like if you've seen these movies, it turns out that didn't actually help that much, that it's actually slower than just letting the animators just do their own thing.
Interesting. Oops.
Well, you know, that's kind of it historically, except for the fact that, like, you know, in popular culture, this movie is like the birth of the furry movement. Obviously, who knows? I'm not an academic. I mean, I am an academic, but I'm not like You're
not a furry academic.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in like countercultural subcultures, right? Like, that's not what I do. But, you know, you see it.
Yeah. So, okay. I want to talk about the very, very beginning of this movie.
Let's do it.
Because I feel like you can see the sort of weakness of the movie in the way it starts. If the movie started when the movie actually starts, when the plot of the film begins, it would be fine. But instead, we open on a book.
Yeah, classic.
The book opens, and
Correct.
There is a bit where you, the viewer, are expected to just read for a little bit. Because there's no narration over these words, and then the page turns. It's not like a lot of words, but it's like, this is for children. Some of these children are going to be like 5. So then the page turns, and there is a rooster who says, I think the most buck wild thing. He's like, there are a lot of stories about Robin Hood. We in the animal kingdom tell our own story. Which suggests that this is the story that animals tell of Robin Hood, wherein everybody is just played by an animal, which is wild.
I love it. I actually think that this is the best way to start a movie, is to just tell kids, well, you know, kids, us animals, we got our own history.
What's wild is that, like, a modern movie, or even a movie from the 80s instead of the 70s, you know, would not feel the need to stop at the beginning of the movie and say, hey, y'all, these are gonna be animals. Like, no, we get it. For sure, sure.
It's interesting, right? Because it feels like they have to make up some kind of excuse for why the movie's like this, right? Because, like, if you think about every other movie that they've done with talking animals, it's either had humans in it, or the animals have just behaved like animals, right?
Well, I mean, yes, but I would say that the Jungle Book is, I mean, obviously Jungle Book has a human in it, but those animals are not acting like animals, and I think everybody's okay with it.
But that's how the book is, right?
That is how the book is. It's true.
It really does feel like they had to, it feels almost like a producer note, right? Why are they all animals? And it's like, we should explain why they're all animals and they're not humans.
But that's what's wild about it. And then there's a, because I was waiting for the opening credit scene, but the movie started instead, and I was like, that's weird. It's the 70s. There should be a really long, egregious opening credit scene.
Well, hold on. Did you not see this?
No. I saw it. But it comes after the rooster starts talking. And so then we get the very, I felt very strange.
I love this.
Scenes from the movie, but it's just the characters taken out of the background and put into a white background so that they can be introduced. Yes.
It's very odd, but I don't know, it's quaint.
I enjoyed it because I watch a lot of cartoons now because of, this. But I feel like
in your day-to-day life, you don't watch as much cartoons.
I watch fewer, yeah, or like ones that I just want to watch.
I can say with certainty that I really only watch animated films now. I do not watch like television anymore.
I enjoyed it because I see a lot of this stuff, and it's an interesting little like historical moment. But I couldn't help but thinking that the movie itself would have been stronger if I hadn't seen like fully half of the animation in the movie and all of the characters. Like if they would just have been allowed to be introduced to me naturally.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I agree, but I think on the other hand, I don't know. There is something very quaint about it, about the fact that it's just like.
But that's what's so weird about it. This is Walt fucking Disney, and they make this movie, and it's not, and this intro, it's not bad, but it just looks like something I would see on somebody's animation reel,
yes,
on YouTube, where they're like, this is like a student's animation reel, like I really hope I get hired by a big company, but it's the big company releasing it.
Just a person on a white background doing kung fu kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I also think that there is something fun about them being like stopping at every creature and then just putting up the name of the character, the animal that it is, and then the actor.
A lion.
Peter Ustinov. Yeah, and it's just like, and I was reading this and I was like, this is so, like, because they will never do this again, right? They don't do this in The Great Mouse Detective. They do not do this in in Dinosaur, right? Like,
actually, to walk it back a little bit, if they did it in Dinosaur, I might have liked Dinosaur better.
That's true. I've been seeing people.
The idea of throwing an artifice over Dinosaur. Sorry, what have you been seeing?
Howdy there, my name is Alan Adale. I am a Tachyopetrosaurus. And here in the dinosaur kingdom, we have our own tale.
We have our own tale that claims we lived alongside lemurs.
I have been seeing people making the argument. We didn't. That dinosaur, I mean, they did, but not like that. That Dinosaur is like a long-lost classic, and I need it to stop. It's not. I'm sorry.
It's truly garbage.
I understand the reasoning behind it, because Dinosaur is, from an animation perspective, fascinating, because it's effectively a prototype for like the modern like Lion King remake, where they took like landscape photography and then CGI dinosaurs onto it. So I understand the desire to want to make it into this like, no, it's like the forefather of like modern. It's like, no, it's not. I'm sorry. It's just not good. Please.
There was something I heard on a podcast the other day. I think it was Alonso Duralde said it, which was it greater were you 8? Which is the idea that like, you're allowed to love stuff from your childhood, but if you have to be able to go back and watch it and say like, this is good for its own reason and not just because I loved it. I loved it when I was a child.
110%. Like, this movie I loved when I was a child. This movie is mediocre to, at best.
Consistently entertaining is what I'll say about this movie. It had a momentum that I was surprised by, considering how kind of nothing happens.
It's a movie that has no downs. It's like plateau, and then it kind of goes up a little bit. It's very lackadaisical in its tone. I don't believe what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it because I think a lot of people believe this. It is a movie that is calmer and less exciting than like a Studio Ghibli movie.
I see what you mean.
Right? Like, if you look at like, what's the Kiki's Delivery Service, right? That movie has more excitement than this movie. And people talk about dying in this movie all the time.
Okay, so the first thing that actually happens is that we get an introduction to Lil Jon and Robin Hood. Mm-hmm. At the start of this movie, it'd been years and years and years since I've seen this movie. Oh, yeah. I thought Robin Hood was going to meet Little John because that is a classic Robin Hood story.
Yes.
But no, they're already friends. Robin Hood meets 0 people in this movie. It's one of the reasons it feels so lackadaisical is everybody already knows each other. It feels like they're already, like, in this rut of, oh, Robin Hood steals from the poor, the prince hates Robin Hood, the sheriff hates Robin Hood, everybody else loves Robin Hood. And they're just like, we're already there. We don't need to set any of this up.
There's no merry men. It's just Robin Hood and Little John.
That's literally the weirdest part of this movie to me, especially because at one point, Little John mentions the merry men, and I'm like, there are no merry men, Little John, it's just you. Maybe Friar Tuck, but Friar Tuck doesn't count, and also I hate him.
You hate Friar Tuck?
We'll get to Friar Tuck. I fucking can't stand this man.
I think I understand why, but we'll get there. Robin Hood and Little John are being chased by the sheriff's goons.
Mm-hmm.
And they escape, and then they see that the royal carriage is coming to Nottingham.
Pause. I need to mention this real quick. I'm going to try not to, like, get really dug down in bits that this movie, quote unquote, gets wrong, but it is established later that the castle is, like,
right
in
there.
Nottingham.
It's right there.
So why is he taking a carriage through Sherwood Forest? That doesn't make sense. I think probably this bit was written and animated before they realized how the other part of the movie was going to go.
It kind of does feel that way. I do think that they mention offhand that they're coming from London. And then I guess they pull up a map.
They pull up a map and they point at Nottingham, and he's like, "Oh, Nottingham! I'll get so much taxes there." Instead of like, "We're going home." You know?
Yeah. It does kind of feel like he just decides to stay there.
Yeah, it's very
for the
strange.
purposes of being owned. So,
wonderful little area to get dunked on.
Yeah, this is where I go to get fucking razzed like every day. I love this place. It's like going to the mall. We meet Prince John and his advisor Hiss, who's a snake.
I want to mention it now, even though it is never exactly explicitly stated, but it's a really fun idea.
Yes,
it seems like Hiss is the Jafar-style royal vizier. Correct. Who has manipulated Prince John into getting rid of Richard so that he could control Prince John. But the problem is, Prince John is actually really hard to control. He
is a petulant man baby.
Yeah, and treats Hiss like his, like, toady sidekick, even though that's not how Hiss meant to be. He meant to be like the power behind the throne, and he's just not anymore. And I kind of love that.
It feels like, it does feel constantly like Hiss is like, this is not going the way I wanted it to.
Yes. I wondered at watching this movie if Prince John was explicitly based on any popular Freudian ideas of the time. Because any mention of his mother immediately makes him suck his thumb and pull on his ear. And he's just, the point of him is that he's a man baby.
I looked this up because I also wanted to know, like, why is it like this? And nobody talks about it.
Great.
And so I don't know. Like, it does feel very pointed, though. I mean, I feel like there's I think there is a lot of ink spilled, and for good reason, on the, like, queer history behind a lot of Disney villains, right? You know, like, but a lot of that stuff kind of comes out of the period after this, right? It's like when you start thinking about, you know, like The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, right? Like, these are, like, Scar and Ursula are villains that are very clearly and explicitly queer coded.
I remember reading, although I can't remember the man's name now, I remember reading that the head designer of, I think it was Scar and Ursula, was actually gay. And maybe that added to it. And somebody said, "Are you telling me a queer coded these villains?"
I mean, like, explicitly for Ursula, right?
Oh yeah, because she's based off of a drag queen.
Correct, because the lead songwriter was gay. But like this, there are aspects of Prince John that do feel a little bit queer-coded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like his general like demeanor and his like affect. But then the man baby stuff happens, and you're like, I don't like. I think he is just supposed to be like a big baby.
I think the point is just supposed to be, you're supposed to know immediately this guy is not fit to rule.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
it just happens that a lot of this stuff that is, I guess you would call it like anti-masculine, is the subtext becomes uncomfortable, maybe, when you try to read too much into it.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think because at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make him quote unquote anti-masculine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, what's the opposite of being a man? It's being a baby, and it's also being kind of gay. Just a little bit, though.
And this is really hit home, I feel like, at the very end of this movie, where, spoilers, King Richard shows back up.
Oh, and he's a hunk.
In honestly the worst way. I knew that the movie ended this way, and I was still upset about it, because I was just like, they Deus Ex Machina this movie.
But that's just how it ends, dude. Like, every Robin Hood movie ends like this.
It does not, because King Richard died. I don't think King Richard ever came back.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'm gonna look him up. King Richard, I don't remember which Richard it was.
Lionheart.
Of course.
Richard Lionheart.
King Richard Lionheart. I think that he was lost in the Crusades. Because he was captured and they just didn't pay for him.
Nah, dog, he died in France. No, he was captured and returned.
He was captured and returned. All right, interesting.
Then he went to war against France and died there. Man, this motherfucker hated England.
It was just like, get me the fuck out of here. So, honestly, that was not my biggest issue, but it was one of my issues with the idea that all these peasants were like, oh, the real king's King Richard, is I was like, that bitch left. That guy
never came back. Sorry, there is apparently speculation that Richard might have been gay, which is very fun. I always love that.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Apparently, Victorian and Edwardian historians were convinced.
Huh.
I don't know. It's crazy.
So,
it's fun, though.
So the thing about Richard is when he shows up, I think he looks... I would compare him to the Beast after the Beast is transformed back into a prince, in that they, like, I feel like put a lot of effort into trying to make him look cool and good, and I was like, this guy looks like fucking nothing.
He looks like and maybe this has something to do with like our proclivities. They made him look like Jesus. Like, he's got a glow to him that makes him just not fit in the scene.
He's very weird, and I was like, fuck this guy. Actually, the whole movie, I was like, there's no way King Richard is so much better than his brother. Everybody's like, oh, Prince John's the worst. It's like, what's Prince John doing? He's taking taxes!
Yeah, no, but this is truly, this movie has like no politics in a bad way.
And it's hilarious because, like I said, it's a very American movie, but I, an American, am like, no
fuck
gods,
kings.
No kings, no masters.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And also he comes back and he does the thing where he's like, looks like I have an outlaw for an in-law. Credits.
Fuck off.
It's like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. What are you doing here?
Hey, actually, we shouldn't be jumping around, but I need to talk about that note for a second. How is Maid Marian related to him? He's apparently her uncle. She is a fucking fox, and he's a lion.
Adoption.
I hope so.
People were being adopted. Listen, you can't get into this stuff in these kinds of movies, right?
That's
you just
true.
have to. Everybody wants Judy and the fox in Zootopia to fuck. They have such a strong romantic tension in that film.
They do have a strong romantic tension. I need to mention something, though. I don't want that.
But that's the thing is you are thinking too much. You are looking at them and you are seeing them as animals. You got to take a step back and see them for what they are, as symbols.
The plot is that they're animals.
Yes, I understand that, but
In
the plot is also that...
In this one, they're symbols, which is why when I felt like that hen and Lil Jon had chemistry, and I was like, okay, but they're not going to be...
I did not.
No?
No.
Lil Jon had chemistry with fucking everybody he interacted with, dude.
That's true. Lil Jon's got... he's got the juice. You know, everybody wants to squeeze.
Immediate reaction to Lil Jon, because Lil Jon makes this joke that's the first joke in the movie, and in my mind, the fucking funniest joke in the movie, where he asks Robin if they're good guys or bad guys because they steal. And Robin says, oh, we don't steal. We don't rob. We just borrow from people who can afford it. And Lil Jon goes, oh, we're in a lot of debt. And I just thought that was so fucking funny.
That's a good joke.
And immediately I was like, Lil Jon can get it.
No, and I think this is the secret. This is why I think this movie is like a lot of people's touchstone for furry culture. And it's that all of these characters are so goddamn charming.
Even the ones you're not supposed to like. I found the sheriff kind of charming.
The sheriff is kind of funny. When he walks in, we're jumping around so much. When he just walks in at the end of the movie singing the song about John sucking.
I was like, dude, you gotta stop.
Come on.
Stop. This is gonna be a problem.
This is bad for your job security. And your job is security.
That was very entertaining. I really like that.
Yeah, and even
Hiss is kind of charming because he's in such a strange situation where you kind of feel bad for Hiss. This clearly evil guy has gotten all away from him.
Yeah, he thought maybe he was going to put the kingdom back on track, right? and instead it's gotten away from him. Alan Adale, who just shows up, I love this character because he's the framing device. But halfway into the movie, he just breaks the fourth wall and he's like, well, now everyone's in prison, including old me.
I'm here too, looking at the camera.
We're so goddamn sad about it. I'm going to sing a little ditty. And I'm like, God damn it, Alan Adale, you're so charming. It's great that they let you bring your guitar/lute into the prison.
Everybody is allowed to bring their accoutrement into this prison. It's buck wild. One of those children has a weapon. He's not going to be able to use it well, but he has one.
He does have one.
Okay, so to get back to where we were actually at.
Right, so Robin and Little John have come up with a plan, a very lightly, just skirting along the edges of problematic plan.
This is, I gotta tell you, I was tensed up. I was like, dude, what's gonna happen? And it's good. It's fine. It never hits it.
They never say it.
They just dress up and they dress up as women. Just women.
Cool and good.
And claim to be fortune tellers. And you're a little bit but then Prince Johnson's like, oh, fortune tellers, how droll. And it's like, okay, I guess we're all gonna get through this scene.
Yeah, there is something very crazy to me that in 20 years when The Hunchback of Notre Dame comes out, we're gonna be more crass about this.
Yeah. I feel like that was the point of that movie, though, to be fair.
A little bit. But yeah, I was also tensed up. But yeah, they never say a slur, so it's fine. And also, I'm a big fan of Bugs Bunny. I love it when an animal dresses up as a hot lady and is just into it.
Like I said, Lil Jon can get it.
Little John is out here flirting and shaking his thing at all of these guards.
The thing to me about this scene, though, the thing that I feel like it exemplified, and we'll see this very often, is that Robin Hood is not... What's the best way to say this? He loses the plot really quickly. He gets really wrapped up in what he's doing. He gets really hooked on the idea of stealing this one bag of gold from the prince. And meanwhile, Little John is stealing fucking everything.
He got the hubcaps off of the carriage. He got the all of the coin out of the royal chest.
Out of the royal chest, it was like everybody's taxes. He just stole everything. And meanwhile, Robin got a single bag of gold and the clothes off of Prince John's back, which, like, points for sure.
Oh, that's the thing is Robin wants to stunt.
Yeah, but it's like, sometimes, man, you just gotta put in the work. It's like, if they were on a basketball team, Lil Jon is constantly making the shots, and Robin's like, oh, watch this dunk. Like,
no, but I do think that's like a classic Fox character, right? Like, if you think of, like, Reynard the Fox, or the Fantastic Mr. Fox, or even the fucking Fox from Zootopia, I do think that, like, there is, like, a very clear through line on this kind of character. What they want to do is not to win, but to make you look a fool. It's the kind of the moral victory, but it
gets him into a lot of trouble in a scene later, and then I would say even way crazier trouble in the, like, final scene of the movie.
Yeah, but he gets out of it.
Barely.
Yeah, but you know, hey.
And he almost a kid almost dies.
A kid does almost die.
A kid does almost die because he cares so much about taking
last
all the
bag
gold.
of gold.
Yeah, fucking get over it, man. Just get out of there. They could have snuck out. It's not that we're gonna get there. So
that's true. I rather enjoyed during this scene when Little John kisses Prince.
Kisses the rings. And he, like,
and
takes off all the gems.
Eats the jewels. Love that. That's a scene that's been stuck in my memory for decades.
Mm-hmm. Ring pops are based off of that scene.
Yeah, exactly. They escape. Little John is thoroughly humiliated.
No, Prince John.
Sorry,
this
Prince
sucks,
John.
by the way.
Oh god, this is terrible. PJ and LJ. Thoroughly humiliated is Prince John.
Mm-hmm.
And we, at this point, go to Nottingham proper, where we meet the poor villagers, who are all just like these. First of all, shout out to these two owls who seem to have the worst life in history. I don't think life ever gets better for them.
Nah, I mean, hopefully. They were running away at one point. Maybe they're okay now. I don't know.
But an owl, like, in the stockades, and his wife is, like, feeding him gruel.
Yeah.
And there's, like, two dogs in the stockades, and nobody's feeding them gruel. There's, like, the blacksmith. He's got, like, a broken leg.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, and this town is, like, grayer than, like, a 2008 action game. Like, it is dire. It's muddy, sucks. And this is when we meet Friar Tuck.
So, I hate Friar Tuck. And you might say, Tony, why do you hate Friar Tuck? Such a delightful little mole,
badger.
I think.
He's a badger.
And I'll tell you why I hate this asshole Friar Tuck. Friar Tuck is in it for how good it feels for him to be doing charity.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Friar Tuck could be making some fucking gruel for these people who are stuck in the stockade. He could be helping out. Friar Tuck, I don't want to get too much into this, but I'm gonna say it, doesn't pay taxes. So the problem of everybody else is not his problem, which means he is in a place where he could help them in a very material way. But instead, all he does is funnel the money that Robin steals back into the hands of the poor, who immediately have it taken away by this very good tax-collecting sheriff.
He's the best.
Any intelligent person would have perhaps given them a little bit of money to, like, put away somewhere, or maybe spent the money on food and given them food. But no.
You can't take the food away as taxes.
No, I want to talk about that in literally the next scene, because I got so mad at this rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
So Friar Tuck goes over to the blacksmith and is given him a little purse of gold. But the sheriff fucking knows Friar Tuck is giving people gold.
He knows Tuck is the middleman. He just knows.
He just knows. He's like, oh, he's out here doing good again, and so he goes and follows. In fact, everybody knows. Everybody's relationship with everybody is such an open secret in this.
It feels like a Shakespeare play.
Yes,
that's it. It feels like a Shakespearean comedy where everybody just kind of knows everybody.
So he follows Friar Tuck. He listens at the door. He knows that they're hiding the money, and he gets the money out of the cast around this poor dog blacksmith's leg. Yep. And Friar Tuck is so mad about this, but and I feel like this is a big note that I have for everybody who lives in Nottingham. This is the sheriff's job.
Yes.
You don't have to like it. In fact, you should dislike him for this. But for you to be outraged every time he takes money from you, as though he didn't do this fucking yesterday, is stupid.
Well, and like the people of Nottingham are just kind of accepting of it, right?
They can't decide how beaten down they are.
they vacillate a bit, but it's the fact that Friar Tuck is hopping mad about it every time and doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Also, I have to say, the Sheriff of Nottingham has some of the best, like, jokes in the movie.
He's got a lot of good jokes. He has a voice like an old-timey prospector, which is very strange.
I'll tell you something, because this, the Pat Buttram, who voices the Sheriff of Nottingham, has a long-standing career where he played Napoleon, the Hound Dog, in The Aristocats, Luke in The Rescuers, and Chief from The Fox and the Hound.
Oh, okay.
So if you remember the I don't know how to say it other than racist dog from The Fox and the Hound, that's him. A lot happier in this movie, though.
Oh, I do. The guy who didn't die, but like it feels like he should have died.
It really feels like he should have died, huh?
He was also, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia, he was also in Back to the Future Part 3.
I assume as a prospector. As
Saloon
an
old-timer number 3, it says. So, yeah.
Oh, shit. A Goofy movie was his last role. He was the Possum Park MC.
Oh, that was after he passed, it looks like. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think the film came out after he passed away. And my guy was in like a ton of cowboy television shows in like the 50s and 60s.
Makes sense. That's the voice he's got. And I'm glad he was able to like use that voice. If it's very funny coming from the Sheriff of Nottingham. And he, like I said, is kind of charming.
Adds to the weird vibe of this movie that everybody just kind of talks like Americans.
Yes.
I think we need to do this with more British stuff.
I mean, we already do it with Winnie the Pooh. And
is Winnie the Pooh British?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I guess that makes sense. I feel like it's honorarily American. Like, do British people know?
The bear he was named after was Canadian, so.
Wow, yeah.
Do you know about Winnipeg, the bear? It doesn't matter. It's not important.
Yeah, no, I do know about Winnipeg the bear, but also I'm looking at a photo of A.A. Milne, and this is the most British motherfucker I've ever seen.
So, the sheriff steals, I say collects taxes legally, and like, it's bad, but like, everybody needs to stop acting like it's stealing.
Yeah, this is the problem with feudalism, right?
Boy, and if they were like, this whole setup is bad, I would have been like, yeah, you guys are fucking right. But they're like, this wouldn't happen under the other king.
If good King Richard, who wasn't off on his righteous and noble crusade.
His righteous and noble crusade killing all those other animals who are probably a different color or something.
Oh, man. Yeah, what's this lion doing in Afghanistan? Huh? That's what I gotta say. That was crazy to me when they said that. When they're like, the good King Richard on his righteous and noble crusade, I lost my mind. I was like...
After what? Fucking Hiss said explicitly that It was his idea to send him on this stupid crusade.
Yeah, that he hypnotized him into doing it.
My favorite logical moment in this was when a character was like, do you know what sucked? The Crusades. And it sucked because I planned it that way. And like, yeah, man, I bet. I guess he hypnotized fucking England.
I wish they had really, like, stuck to it, right? If they had, like, if everybody was like, damn, King Richard was so cool until he, for some reason, ran away to this crusade.
That would have been a little more interesting. Yeah, they're like, remember before before it all went bad when King Richard was normal?
Yeah. Also, how does King Richard, like, get out of it, right? He just comes back.
That's not part of the story.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, and this is like, I don't know, Robin Hood Men in Tights also ends this way. Although maybe it's making fun of this movie. I don't know.
Yeah, Robin Hood Men in Tights is fucking allowed. It's a joke movie.
Man. So we then meet the Rabbit family.
Yes.
Who have just the most adorable little children.
Yeah, those kids are freaking adorable. In this scene, there are
Muppets.
like 16 of them, and then in the later scenes, they will be pared down to about 3. So,
Well, no. The other rabbits are there and they are around, but as in 101 Dalmatians,
only a couple
only
of them
3
matter.
of them matter.
Yeah. So everybody pitched together to give this kid fucking money, and I was so mad. Like, hey, assholes. What's the one thing that gets taken from you?
They basically set this kid up to learn a life lesson, right? This is like a dad who lets his son get pulled over.
And the fucking sheriff is on it. He's like, happy birthday to you. Bursts into the door, sings happy birthday, takes his 1 coin, is like...
The family that, what is it? Stays
together, pays together.
Yeah. Good shit. Every line is a banger out of this guy.
It's true. He also has this really cool move. So this guy's supposed to be a wolf, but he has like fox-like cunning, I feel like.
Yes. Well, wolves are also tricksters.
Robin Hood comes in,
I love
dressed as a blind beggar. Alms for the poor, and the sheriff takes his coin, throws it so hard into his cup that 2 more coins bounce out, and he grabs all 3 of them and then leaves. And it's so good.
Baller. It's a baller move.
Yeah, this guy knows his business.
It kind of makes his, like, rivalry with Robin Hood make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they both have it, right? It's just they're on different sides of the law.
You could almost imagine a version of this story where King Richard is in charge and Robin Hood is the sheriff.
And the sheriff is
essentially Robin Hood. And it'd be like almost the same. So Robin Hood comes in, reveals that it's him, Robin Hood, and gives the kid a bow and arrow, which I was immediately like, that kid's gonna shoot somebody with it, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And his hat. And both of those are something this kid is going to treasure forever, and importantly, not fucking money. And I can't stand, it made me really dislike the people of Nottingham for being this fucking stupid. Robin knows what's up.
They're a little money hungry, but to be fair, they're also a little hungry. And so
then
it's like,
buy
you guys
food
need to prioritize
with the money.
before you got to do. It's like so fast. You got to do it so fast.
This is why I'm saying, like, Friar Tuck should go be buying food. He doesn't get taxed. It's not until the very, very, very end of the movie that the sheriff even makes an actual move against Friar Tuck. Friar Tuck could have been this whole time buying people food. He lives in a fucking empty church. People's houses are being foreclosed. Take them in, Friar Tuck. I was so mad at Friar Tuck this whole movie.
Get him.
So then these kids go off. And they're having fun. We follow the kids for a while, shooting their arrows. He shoots an arrow, quote, right into Prince John's backyard, end quote.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a funny concept of, like, kicking a ball into the neighbor's yard.
Yeah. It's like, this is like the plot of The Sandlot, right? Like,
right. Why is he out here with one arrow? That's wild. Anyway.
So Robin only gave him one arrow, and I think Robin just kind of assumed that he wouldn't be able to get it that far, you know? He got a good fucking distance on that thing.
It shot over the wall. Like, that could have taken somebody out if they were standing under it.
Well, luckily, no one was standing under it, even though there were two very important people playing badminton outside.
So this rabbit goes in to find his arrow. And this is where we Maid Marian. And I'm going to mention my problem with Maid Marian.
Mm-hmm.
This movie does not give anybody any character growth, which is okay.
Correct.
That's not what you expect from this movie. But if they're not going to give anybody any character growth, I need Maid Marian to be something other than, like, Marie Antoinette. Out here having fun, playing with her lady in waiting, while on the other side of a wall people starve. Not okay, Maid Marian.
No, but you know, she's a little bit lovesick as well.
But I guess my big problem is, later, she will essentially go join Robin Hood, and then she's not in the movie anymore. There's there's not even a little bit where she's like, now I'm helping him, or I'm helping the poor, or anything. Nope. She's just gone.
Yep. As I say, Lady Cluck also disappears at this point.
Yes. Maybe it's less a problem with her as a character as the fact that she's not really a character.
What it is that she kind of just exists as like a cheerleader for Robin Hood.
Right. She's gender bent Robin Hood.
She's a lamp.
Oh no, we're bringing the lamps back.
And it sucks.
She is a lamp, yeah.
But I will say, this movie is 83 minutes long. There is a lot of scenes in this movie that could be cut down to make a little bit more room for Maid Marian. So it hurts even more that she just kind of is just this.
Anyway, they're playing badminton, and then they see this kid, and they just start, like, hanging out with these kids, essentially. And these kids are asking some very penetrating questions about Maid Marian's love life.
Oh, for sure. You kiss him? You gonna have kids? Like, goddamn, kid. I haven't even seen him since we were kids.
Yeah, like, chill out. Yeah, she's, like, lovesick for Robin, but they haven't seen each other. And again, open secret, everybody knows.
Maid Marian, like, I think this is kind of why it works for me, which is that Maid Marian proves that she can hang, right? Like, her and Lady Cluck start playing around with the kids. They're talking about how much Little John sucks.
Prince John.
So it's one of those things, right, where I think it's like, because this movie is like, monarchy is good, bad monarchs are bad, right?
Right.
Like the myth of the good capitalist.
Right. Or I was just reading The Once and Future King.
Oh yeah, that series is weird.
I honestly stopped at the beginning of the second book because they started boiling a cat and going really into the details about it, and I was like, "This is fine. I don't
that's what I meant when I was like, those books get weird. Sword in the Stone is like a normal book.
But I was reading Sword in the Stone, and it has a bit where it talks about how great the idea of feudalism is, and how, like, obviously there were people who abused feudalism, but they weren't the problem. But feudalism was the problem, it was those people. And I was like, if it's that easily abused, obviously it's the problem, right? And but I couldn't talk to the book, as it turned out.
Listen, I yell at books all the time, and unfortunately they never respond.
The book has to play with the idea that once you have, like, the perfect king, King Arthur, feudalism is great. But it's not.
One of the most important things that happens in the myth of King Arthur is that he dies. And everybody knows that at some point he's going to go away and there's going to be no more good kings.
Right. After he dies, they're like, that's it, I guess.
Yeah, all kings from now on are at the very least going to be neutral, if not evil.
Not as good as King Arthur, and we're never going to have another one like him until maybe England is on the brink of collapse, and then King Arthur will come back. Like, that's their hope. Like, maybe we'll get King Arthur again. But it's like, then kings don't work.
Yeah. If that's the limit, But I do think that, like, that's kind of what we're supposed to get out of Maid Marian. Maid Marian is good nobility. She can hang with the peasants. You know, she gets invited to the cookout, that kind of a thing. But she is not suffering.
Right. No, she's not. She's having a grand old time out there.
Prince John is like, I'm going to throw a competition to trap Robin Hood, because I know that he's the best archer ever, and the prize will be a kiss from his long-lost love, Maid Marian.
This is a good idea that only works, again, if you already know that Maid Marian has the hots for Robin Hood and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the movie's done a pretty good job of establishing that, because we do get a long scene where Robin Hood's like, oh, I love Maid Marian so much, Little John. She would never be with an outlaw like me.
Sorry, you're right. The movie establishes it very well. What doesn't make sense to me, and the movie will not bother telling me why this is the Shakespearean style, everybody knows everything about everything. Why does Prince John know this? Before the scene where they are sitting next to each other to watch the archery contest, they never share any conversation on screen. We've never seen them together on screen. We just, vaguely know that they're connected.
Yeah, she's staying at his house.
Or lives there.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Well, I guess she is King Richard's niece. That would make her Prince John's niece as well.
Or daughter, maybe.
Oh, I guess so.
But that would be wild.
Can't be it. That can't be it.
Oh, I cut all the bit where I choked on water. Yeah, so Little John and Robin Hood throw on some disguises. The thing that I really like about this movie, actually, is the disguises. I don't know if Robin Hood is considered in the classic tales to be, a master of disguise, but it's, most consistently the most fun thing in this movie. Probably, for me, probably because you can throw on an animal disguise without it being super racist, like in
the Great Mouse Detective?
Like in the Great Mouse Detective. Because he dresses as a stork, which is pretty out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he I think you're right. I think this movie has a lot of, very accessible, elements for kids to play around with, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to play Robin Hood, you could be like, I'm going to put on a disguise and that kind of a thing. And that's fun. And it helps that all of the villains in this movie are so you have all of these rhino guards and wolf guards. It feels very video gamey almost.
The elephants who are not guards, but only do trumpets.
They are trumpeters, correct. There's a playfulness to how they handle the disguises that's great every time it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it makes it feel like a play, right?
So he's dressed in this stork disguise. This stork disguise is great, not just because he looks like a stork, but because I guess the idea is that he's an impoverished stork. So his bow is just essentially a tree branch with still some leaves on it.
His arrows are tied together.
His arrows are tied together, really small sticks that are tied together to make an arrow. And he openly flirts with Maid Marian, and she openly flirts back, because she realizes that's Robin Hood.
They have a moment. Their eyes meet, and they just know.
This movie fucking loves zooming in on their eyes. It loves it so goddamn much. Meanwhile, Prince John is sitting right the fuck there.
Yeah.
And he knows that Maid Marian has a thing for Robin Hood, so he's like, well, that's him.
We got him. I wish my snake was here so that I could tell him.
So, the thing is, he's sent his way because Little John, dressed as I think he says sir, so I guess he's a knight.
Like a duke.
Or a duke, yeah.
He's all
dresses all up and wins over Prince John with frankly his folksy ways. Let's call it as it is, folksy ways. But pretending that these are fancy ways.
I do want to point out that Little John is voiced by the same guy who voices Thomas O'Malley and Baloo. So
this tracks.
the most charismatic guy.
And he wins him over, essentially tosses Hiss away.
Oh, this is so sad when he just tosses Hiss away. That whole scene is like rough for Hiss. They start laughing at him as he's slithering away. They're like, oh, what a loser that steak is. Like, whoa.
Simmer down, guys. Jeez, you can't get the Johns together. It gets rough out there.
Right, yeah, it gets the boys will be boys when the Johns are together.
Hiss is told to, like, keep an eye out for Robin Hood. He does an interesting maneuver, which I love, which is he sticks his head into a balloon, blows it up a little extra in a way that only works in cartoons because it continues to float, and he uses his tail like a little propeller.
Yeah, this is great.
Figures out which one's Robin Hood.
This is great. He does this by looking up Robin's skirt.
Uncool, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
But he is then taken down by the Barred Rooster and Friar Tuck.
Alan Adale, please.
And they stuff him into a cask of ale.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done for the scene. He's out.
He does say when they put him in the barrel, I don't drink, which is great.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to say that again.
You drink now.
They knocked him off the wagon.
Congratulations, you have a problem again. When he gets drunk, he does crazy stuff like sending the king off to a crusade.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, he's been on the wagon since then, only to get knocked off here. Rough.
Miserable.
But Prince John figures it out because honestly, I think everybody knows that this is Robin Hood, except for the Sheriff of Nottingham.
This is the bit where Robin is, again, too busy stunting on everybody to, like, fucking think it through, man.
He wants that kiss.
He's so excited to show everybody that he's the best that he fully forgets that he's in disguise.
So this is like a classic Robin Hood story, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff gets like a perfect bullseye, whether by hook or by crook.
In this version, it is, in fact, by crook.
By crook. And then Robin Hood, to prove that he's the superior archer, shoots his arrow through the sheriff's arrow. But this movie's like, that's not cool enough.
They do a bit of a spin, yeah.
They have the sheriff, once again by crook, knock Robin off of his like leg while he's shooting, causing him to shoot up, and then Robin shoots another arrow at that arrow to hit it down, which doesn't make sense physically. And then that arrow goes straight through the other arrow anyway.
Yep.
And I was like, that's sick. That kicks ass.
It was very good. And everybody was cheering. Like, everybody knows it's Robin.
Everybody knows it's Robin Hood.
And Robin he's got these blinders on right now. All he could see is Maid Marian, because immediately Prince John motions for about 1 million rhinos to surround Robin, and he fully doesn't notice.
Yeah, they capture Robin Hood. He doesn't get that kiss. This is it for him. They're going to execute him on the spot. They bring the rhino out with the big axe.
They do. He's like, immediately. I was like, I thought we were going to have time to plan a jailbreak, but nah.
That happens later.
Yeah, Maid Marian tries to beg for his life and it doesn't work, but like, why would that have worked? Little John consistently being the MVP in this story.
Listen, without Little John, nothing would work.
Little John, I think, genuinely knew that this was a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
And so his follow-up idea was, I'm going to be so close to the prince that I can stick a dagger in his back and demand that he let Robin Hood go. It's fucking badass.
It's so cool. So they let Robin Hood go, and then Little John's like, now you go and tell Maid Marian to kiss my friend.
yeah, you tell me to like make out sloppy style.
Right here in front of God and everybody. It's like, all right, John, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to go that far. It's like,
pull it back, John.
Little John excels as a third wheel, but also he's too good at it. You know?
The third wheel that Little John represents is, like him, 2 times bigger than the other wheels.
It's true.
He's the front wheel on a huge trike. And the sheriff sees this, so they start fighting. Everybody's fighting.
This scene goes on a little too long.
This scene goes on a little too long. It is, as I mentioned before, extremely American, to the point where the hen starts doing football. At him. Lady Cluck, excuse me. Starts doing football at him, like just tackling people and running over them and nonsense like this. It goes on for a while. Maid Marian runs off with Robin Hood.
A big shout out to the crocodile announcer.
Oh my god, I almost forgot this guy! He's my favorite character. This
guy rocks.
The captain. I do not know. He doesn't have a name. He's just the captain of the Royal Guard. He is a crocodile. He looks pretty much like TikTok. And he has such this great voice, and every announcement he makes is amazing. He's a radio performer, so that makes sense.
Yeah, at one point he tries to like tell everybody to stop fighting, and he just gets run over by all the guards, and it's one of the funniest like visual gags. And I assume he dies because we never see him again.
No, we do. We see him. We see him in the later scene when everything's being set on fire or something. We do see him very briefly. But he was like my favorite character in this scene. I was sad to see him go.
That he's Fidget.
He's a lot.
He's a lot, and I don't want to talk about the other thing he is. But
you mean the angry apple tree from Wizard of Oz? That's cool.
Yeah, that's
not
great.
the one.
I love that.
That's probably not the one you meant, huh?
No, I also am not talking about the skeleton in Abbott and Costello in the Foreign Legion.
Oh, this is kind of cool though. He was Maleficent's goon.
Oh, nice.
Like one of those little like little guys.
Yeah, makes sense. He's got the voice for it.
Yeah, that works.
His favorite role was being Fidget the peg-legged bat in The Great Mouse Detective.
Of course it was.
That was his favorite role. That's awesome. What a cool guy. So, yeah, but great voice. Royal Assembly.
Yes.
Love it.
So then we cut to essentially Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
It is Disney's first go at Can You Feel the Love Tonight, because this song is just called Love.
It's not an amazing song. There's still too much zoom in on everybody's faces. I mean, I get it. They have faces. And it's also quite short because they are very quickly interrupted by fucking everyone. It was Friar Tuck who interrupts first, and I was again like, why are you ruining the scene, Friar Tuck?
Well, because he's the priest. He's like, save it till marriage.
Simba and Nala were not interrupted. I'll just say that.
Well, listen.
There's a raisin, there's a baby later.
Consummation occurred. There's a sequel to that movie.
These two do not get friggin' any alone time before the biggest party with literally everyone they know happens.
This party is so big and so wild, it is punishable by death.
They start singing a pretty catchy number about how
Prince John, sorry. About how Prince John sucks.
About how Prince John fucking sucks and is the worst and is not as good as the real king. And I've made my opinions clear on the idea of having a true king. But they are living in a time and place without protected freedom of speech. So this is an interesting choice that they are making.
And it turns out that, in fact, this ditty is too good because Prince John immediately puts everybody in prison.
Yeah, after the very good scene that you talked about where, for the fuck how, I guess because everybody's still saying it, the sheriff walks into the castle to deliver his taxes while singing the song, and Hiss joins it.
And this is, I think, my favorite scene in the movie. First of all, Alan Adale singing a great song about how it fucking sucks in Nottingham, about the sun shines in other places.
But not in Nottingham.
Great. Not in Nottingham. Great ditty, love it. And then we just get to see everybody with these the little ankle chains on their legs.
And all of them, to a man, have a giant iron boulder holding them in place.
There's the mice who are all attached to one.
There's like a work line of raccoons. I don't even think the raccoons are in any other part of the movie. There's like a work line of raccoons walking in, just dragging this big ball behind them. It's great.
It's so good.
There's one issue I have with it, which is how did they allow it to get this bad? How quickly did this happen?
Who knows, right? Because this movie is a vignette style film, but it feels like it just happened the next day, right?
This is important. He didn't arrest them for singing that song. He arrested
No.
them for not being able to pay their taxes, which he had quadrupled. You'd think that would take some time.
Nah, that sheriff is good.
The sheriff is good. Yeah.
He's that good. So Friar Tuck, I don't feel the like same vile hatred in my heart that you do towards Friar Tuck. That being said, he says the wildest fucking thing in this scene where he's ringing the bell and one of his like mice priests is like, oh, I don't think anybody's gonna show up now, Friar Tuck. And Friar Tuck's like, I just hope that I can give them some hope with them here bell. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Give them some hope by breaking them out of prison.
Yeah. Fuck you, man. Why aren't people hiding here, Friar Tuck? If the scene was that people were hiding out in this sanctuary and then the sheriff breaks in and breaks sanctuary, I would have bought this scene a lot more. Because instead, the sister, who appears to be married to the priest, which seems...
That's cool and normal in England.
Okay, well...
Now, not at this time... Probably not.
Probably not. When does the Church of England start?
Yeah, after Robin Hood, for sure. But, like, whatever. It's a thing. People in England are cool with it.
So, they're mice who live in the wall. I understand why these guys can't do more. But she gives Friar Tuck the last farthing they have.
Their savings.
For the poor. Not to drill down too much into it. There are no poor anymore. There are people in prison and you. Which means, guess what? You're the poor now. Keep that money. But
Keep that fucking money.
Dipshit puts it in the box, and as soon as any money is anywhere that's not perfectly hidden, the sheriff will show up and take it. He's outraged. And it's like, hey, asshole, what did you think was happening? Like, I got so mad at him. I hate this man.
He just doesn't know. He's too trusting.
Yeah. Well, I was also like, why are you taking their last farthing? He's like, oh, your last farthing. That's as much as anyone could give. And like, hey, jerk.
Your last breath.
No. Like,
right? Give it back. No, there's not even any poor to give it to.
Yeah, they're just holding on. It just seems like he thinks he knows what, like, a noble friar should be doing. I hate this man. Anyway, the sheriff, who is, as far as I could tell, and this is important because I'm really on it now, the only person in this movie who is good at his job.
It's true. He's really good at his job.
He's really good at his job.
He's got like a sixth sense. He
comes in, takes the last coin. Man, he doesn't even mind it that everyone hates him. It's perfect. He comes in, takes the last coin. The Friar Tuck is so furious, and he's like, that's for the poor. And he's like, oh, well, I'll give it to poor Prince John. And the little mouse nun is so furious. He's like, and God bless you too. And just like fucking dunking on him.
He's dunking on it. And this is, it shouldn't have gotten this far, but watching this friar beat the shit out of him is good.
I will admit, yes, that bit's fun, but like
he like bounces him out of the church with his tummy, and then gets a stick and just starts beating the shit out of him.
Eventually, he does lose that fight because the guard has a sword. But the sheriff took a few good knocks, and so then they arrest him. And they're going to have him executed. But the only reason they're going to have him executed is so Robin Hood will show up to save him. Robin Hood gets a little bit ahead of it because he dresses up in his
beggar.
In his beggar garb. Which at first I was like, why are you using this again? But I realized this disguise isn't burnt. He's good on this disguise. He just hears that they're gonna kill Friar Tuck, and he's like, well, he can't let that happen.
This is supposed to be another plan, right? Prince John's like, we're going to hang Friar Tuck. Robin Hood's going to show up to save him.
Right.
And we'll get him, and then we'll get 2 hangings for 1.
This is, I think, the way that Robin Hood has gotten ahead of it is just by learning about it, like, 12 hours early. Like, if he had learned when he was supposed to, he would have tried to save Friar Tuck from the hanging, and he would have lost because, like, there's no way, right?
There's no way. But instead, he does a nighttime.
He plans a breakout. Now this can work. Well,
He plans a breakout and the greatest heist.
Okay. I said it before, I'll say it again. Robin Hood is too hooked on the idea of, like, doing the coolest thing. Get everybody safe, then you can steal some money, Robin. But no.
We're doing it all at the same time. We're stunting on him. We're stealing this money right out from under Prince John's nose. Literally, in one case.
But the reason this works, I think, is because they did not expect a jailbreak. That was not the plan. So, they basically do all the jailbreak stuff. I don't know if there's a lot we need to get into.
No, there's a lot of running.
Essentially, Little John goes to unlock everybody, and Robin Hood goes to steal all the gold, which is all in Prince John's bedchamber. He sleeps there with...
I love this.
Hiss in a little rocking bed by his feet.
A little bassinet, yeah.
And it's like, Hiss, my guy, you could sleep anywhere.
On the one hand, he should have his own room. Like, he's a royal advisor. He can get his own room. On the other hand, I love the idea of, in Aladdin, Jafar sleeping in a little bassinet at the king's feet.
Jafar would never.
He would never.
Something that was interestingly introduced in this is the idea that for some reason, Prince John cannot be hypnotized. Either because he knows it's coming and he's not gonna, like, let somebody take over his mind, or it's just, like, I don't know, maybe he's got a twisty mind that's hard to hypnotize.
His mind's too twisted, like the Joker.
Yeah, he's too he lives in society, man. So Hiss cannot control him like he could control the old king. And I think that's interesting because, again, the Sultan was hypnotized. His brain was mush by the time Aladdin got to him.
That guy was a terrible ruler.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how are they going to carry all this money? And it's like, well, because we're doing a jailbreak at the same time, everybody gets a bag of cash.
Some people get like 3, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's size dependent, right? Like the mice only get a coin each. Or no, I think one of them does have like a stack of coins.
Just had like a huge stack of coins, yeah.
But as with all of Robin's plans, it goes awry pretty much instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But it works out because the townspeople got the gumption. But oh no, that one of the little boppets from the beginning of the movie is left behind. And so Robin has to turn around and go get the baby. But they trap him in the castle walls. He hands the baby to John and he's like, "Don't worry, John, I'll get out." And he proceeds to get out and die.
In a pretty good scene, he and the sheriff Nottingham is chasing him with a torch.
Oh,
because
I love this.
All of the sheriff's stuff has been stolen by John when he, like, knocked him out and took his place for a second. And so he doesn't have a sword anymore. So he runs after him with a torch and is burning down, like, a wing of the castle. Not the whole castle, but, like, a lot of the castle. Like, as he's fighting Robin Hood. And Robin's like, "This is bad." And he gets up to the tower, covered in fire like it's fucking Bambi, man. And then he leaps into the moat, and they shoot a bunch of arrows at him. But he's in the moat. He's fine. Come on, nobody, no crime.
Yeah, he's in the water. May said the exact same thing, and I was like, no, he's dead. You know, he's dead. This is a children's movie. He died. But yeah, the hat floats up. There's no more bubbles. Everyone's like, he did it. He died. Prince John starts crying, but then the little rabbit boy, who's also there inexplicably to watch his hero die.
Yeah, he's got to be there to watch his hero die. The little rabbit boy, by this point of the movie, for some reason, feels like he has been inserted as Robin Hood's apprentice.
Yeah, he's like supposed to be like a Will Scarlet, I guess.
It feels very odd because it feels like it kind of comes at the 11th hour, like.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's a different movie, right, where it's like, this kid is Robin Hood now, right? He becomes the Robin Hood. But instead, little Reed's poking out of the water. Who's that? It's Robin Hood.
That's Robin Hood, as it turns out.
And because this is a movie where no information is kept secret, Prince John sees this happen and is
just
like, "No, I've lost again." And it's like, dude, keep shooting him with arrows.
So Chamie was mentioning something during the whole heist scene. She was like, "You should just slit the king's throat." And that would have been an interesting vibe for this children's movie. But also, in any reasonable story, yeah, he should have done that. Because what he just did, what all this was keep everybody in Nottingham in the biggest amount of trouble possible. And they have a lot of money, but where are they going to live? I guess in Sherwood Forest, just like shooting anybody who tries to come in?
Yeah.
How are they going to live? What's going to happen next? Oh, it doesn't matter. King Richard's back. That's it.
King Richard's
he doesn't
back.
Solve the problem.
Robin Hood's pardoned. Put a big old poster over the other poster.
Yes.
You know?
We see that Prince John, Hiss, and the Sheriff of Nottingham are all smashing rocks.
The two vultures.
The two vultures appear to be guarding them.
Oh, you're right. They're just guarding them.
They're still guards, those vultures, which made me think, well, then the fucking sheriff should still be sheriff. Maybe demoted, but, like, he shouldn't be in prison because he was following orders. He was doing what he was told. What was he going to do? Not do that and get his head cut off? No. What's his crime? Being too good at his job? Being a fun character? Huh? King Richard? I don't think this seems very fair, King Richard Lionheart.
Well, you know, but you gotta get the villains, right? They're the villains.
Yeah,
but you're right. He was just doing his job.
If you examine it, it's a little weird.
And here's what I'll say is if I was King Richard, I'd be like, this sheriff is too good at his job. He should be the like countrywide tax collector. Just put some limits on him, right? Don't let him take everything.
I think I would have liked this ending better if there was, like, maybe a little bit of an ironic twist, like he sends off Prince John to do a crusade or something. It's like you and all of your men, and it's like the sheriff and, like, Rhino guys, you go and make England proud, and just sends them on a crusade. That would be funny to me. Now, obviously, in many ways, that would be worse. But
yeah. In the, like, political reality, right?
The political reality. But, like, I needed... It didn't feel enough like a good joke ending. It was just like, don't worry, they're all wearing stripes now, which means that we won.
They're in prison.
Yeah.
They're in American prison.
They're in American prison where they're banging on rocks. Do they have quarries in England? Probably not. I've never heard of that.
How do you think they built all those castles? But they just used the rocks that were lying on top of the ground?
It was a joke. It was clearly a joke. Yeah, they never dig in England. They only pick up the closest rock. You dig too deep, you'll find Roman shit. Nobody wants that.
Oh, and you know that British people hate digging too deep. They think it's bad.
Occasionally they'll find like a fucking lost king down there. No way.
No, don't need that. So that's it. Robin Hood and Maid Marian get married. They kiss.
That little rabbit hops on the fucking carriage to be the fourth wheel. Because they already got a third wheel. That's little John, who's still here. I love that. Which I guess somebody has to drive the carriage, but whatever. So yeah, they're just off, and it's like, we did it. End of movie. No real moral, I felt.
No, it really doesn't have one. It really doesn't have a moral. It's kind of a nothing movie, but in a way, I don't know, like it's good to watch. The animation, it's of a time. If you do not like this kind of style of Disney animation, you're probably not going to like the animation in this movie, but I love it. I personally like it. So I'm rather enamored by it.
I thought it was entertaining the whole way through, which is a lot more than a lot of movies we watch that like drag a bit. But because this is such a vignette style movie.
It's 83 minutes, which is so tight.
It is very chill.
And if you get one of the like later VHS releases, which obviously no one's going to do that, but it's even shorter because they do cut out a little bit of the intro sequence.
I clicked through to Maid Marian to see if she was supposed to be related to King Richard in the original. And I just do want to mention that she's celebrated as a feminist character because she's the original Maid Marian, not this version. This is what I mean. Okay. And it's just like, that kind of sucks. Like, the reason Robin likes her is because she's kind of like him, where she, like, fights people.
I love this woodcut of her.
It's very good. Look at her lopsided eyes. Woodcuts are hard, I imagine.
Yeah. I'm sure that this is like fucking like an inch of size, right? But, it's good.
Right. Yeah, she's like an outlaw in other versions, which I kind of like that idea a little better. I don't feel like we don't get to see that in modern versions of Robin Hood. She's always like in a castle.
Yeah, again, it's like in this, she's just kind of a cheerleader, and it does feel bad because there is, for as short as the movie is, room in the movie to like flesh her out more.
Unrelated, I did scroll down to the production and see that originally Friar Tuck was supposed to be a pig, and they changed it because they didn't want to offend the church. But honestly, I think that would have worked for Friar Tuck.
Oh, yeah, that would have worked. Another thing you'll note if you look at the production is that the character designer wanted it to be set in the South, American South.
That makes sense to how it ended up, but that's also weird.
Makes no sense, right? It's like
this guy just wanted to do Song of the South again, which as far as I can tell, nobody else wanted.
Dude, everybody was like, we can't. No, but that movie was controversial in its time.
Yeah, please don't do this.
And he was like, nah, but I had so much fun making it. And it's like, dude, let it go.
Robin Hood.
Let it go. Good time. I liked it. Definitely, again, the kind of movie you could just kind of put on in the background, right? Like, it's
frankly,
pleasant enough to ignore.
It's the perfect dentist's office waiting room movie. You had it down.
Yeah. Because you could just leave in the middle of it, right?
Yeah, that'll be fine. You get it.
Yeah, they're going to get together at the end. It's fine. Now, listener, here we come to the end of our tale of Robin Hood. Thank you for joining us here on Direct2.video. I would keep doing this bit, but I don't actually have the whole spiel memorized.
Okay, I've been your host, Tony Robusto.
And I have been your host, Andy Adale, a rooster.
He's getting more southern. You can find me on Blue Sky at SpoilerTrueEvents and .org and by the website of the same name.
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at Royalty-Valens. You can also find me on YouTube at Ethical Games Journalism. I have moved. Moving has occurred. A big thank you to Scott Buckley.
Yes, Scott Buckley for Homeward.
Next time, we're watching Secret of NIMH.
And then we're going to do Secret of NIMH 2. Are either of those movies good, do you know?
May says that Secret of NIMH is good.
Interesting.
It's based on a book, like a book series. So, but I've never heard of it, though. So I
called Winnie the Pooh.
No. And I don't think anyone's watched Secret of NIMH 2. I don't. Nobody in my life. Yeah.
Just so like with the Swan Princess movies.
Yeah. Just and in this, our year of animal animation.
Yeah, that's essentially what we have on this document is all animal animation all the time.
I'm kind of excited about it because it puts an upper limit on what to expect.
Yes.
Like, animals are gonna be animated. That's like 90% of the pitch.
It's a good start.
So yeah, Secret of NIMH, 1982. Very exciting. It'll be both of our first time watching it, I believe.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Or bad. We'll get to find out.
It could be. Who knows? It might not hold up.
Maybe we hate it. I am the ghost. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can say your thing if you like.
No, it's fine.
Okay, I am the ghost of John Smith.
And I'm Alan Adale. I love this rooster. Let's stop recording now.
I would love for Alan Adale to be a regular guest. $35? Yeah, okay.
Sync. I propose. Yeah. Next time we go to time.is, we don't say a time. I want to think that I am like so in sync with how you pick times that I could do it at the same time, even if you don't tell me what the time is.
That's sheer madness.
Well, we could do it the right way if it doesn't work.